My name is Basil, Leaf and Limb. My self-given title is the Wizard of Things.
I'm Tessa Williams. I'm the media director at Leaf and Limb. So, you have news.
I do, yeah. It's crazy. It's done. It's like I'm bittersweet about it, actually. I was looking forward to this day for so long, but I finished writing a book. Actually, today is the deadline, the drop dead date, and I mean, we are 99.5% done. It's called From Wasteland to Wonder, Easy Ways We Can Help Heal Earth in the Suburban Landscape. I'll just stick with sort of how I'm feeling today. I'm surprised at how sad I am. It's like a big project. It's like, it was 3.5 years of my life. And one of my favorite traditions became this thing where I would wake up early on Saturday. I get up at 5 a.m. every day, and I try to keep it consistent through the weekend. And every Saturday morning, I'd wake up and I'd grab a coffee and start writing. It was quiet, nobody bothering me, no staff calling me. The kids are still sleeping. The world is it's quiet. And I'd write for 3-4 hours every Saturday morning, Sunday mornings often too. And that was mostly my writing time initially. Now, those were like the first 2.5 years, actually 2 years. Then I got into the editing stage. And let me just say that had I known what editing was going to require, I don't think I would have written the book. Oh my God, it's just the worst. And then when editing was done, I was like, okay, the worst is behind us. But then we had to get all the photos and the videos and the design and the web page and the Shopify page and the ISBNs and the copy editor and the copyright and that's only half the list. It was insanity. So it's bittersweet today. I'm at the end of a crazy long 6-week push since the holidays. So it's going to be nice. I've been working just nonstop because I also have to do my regular job. So it's exciting to be at this next chapter, and it's a little sad to see it go.
How has the process of writing a book changed you as a person?
Such a good question, because I think one of the things I value most about this, aside from really enjoying the Saturday mornings and wondering what I'll do with them now, it allowed me to really explore my ideas in a very deep and meaningful way that forced me to do a lot of research, give things a tremendous amount of thought. I was able to form connections between parts of our work at Leaf and Limb and Project Panda that I've not been able to form before. And I think in the end, I created this almost like this philosophy of it's a full approach. It's a whole paradigm shift. And it's so cool to have a full body of work. Like, it is all of my thoughts and everything packaged into this system that makes sense for so many reasons. And so I would say the fact that I've been able to form that through this writing experience is one of the greatest parts of this journey.
So what inspired you to write the book?
So in 2020, I started doing this presentation called How Trees Can Save the World and What We Can Do to Help. And I did it with some of our local organizations like J.C. Rouse and Arboretum, but also a lot for clients and things like that. So different groups, gardening groups, client groups. And what caught me by surprise was when I was presenting to the gardening groups, the folks who I assumed most of this was just baseline information about how, well, let me back up for a second. Sort of the premise of this book is that the way we currently manage the landscape, it's transforming it into a total wasteland. We're cutting down forests, we're paving over grasslands, we're pouring chemicals into everything. It's just not good. And the worst part is it's expensive and it's time intensive, and it emits all this carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There's just like no wind. We're just stuck in a trap, basically. And it's hard to really see the trap we're in, but the truth of the matter is that we can actually do this completely differently. We can work with natural systems instead of working against them. In the process, we can still have our jobs. We can still earn money. There's still money models here if we're a for-profit company. If we're a homeowner, we can still have a space we love and take care of it and keep it beautiful. But the trade-off is now you get these activities that pull carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but they also address all these other mega issues that we're facing, like loss of topsoil, loss of forests, fresh water's running out, non-human life is just getting wiped out. So all these huge environmental issues, by doing things differently, we can help address those, and we save time and money. It's like, oh my God, like a win-win. We just need a way out of the trap. So this book is a way out of the trap. And it connects these activities to the planet as a whole. I kind of take the reader through these fun essays about like the basics of how this planet works. Not the whole planet, but the systems that matter. Photosynthesis, soil formation, how we accumulate fresh water, like stuff that we kind of all know from grade school, but I put a new spin on it. I make it interesting and fun to read, and they're short and sweet. Then I take those same topics and I show how humans are destroying those systems. And then in the process of destroying those systems, we are essentially causing tremendous damage to the planet, but we're going to really hurt ourselves. So obviously this book does not solve those issues, but it is a part of solving those issues, I hope. It can help teach people new ways of doing things that alleviate all of those problems. And hopefully in the process, it actually changes people's mindset about certain things. They'll be more informed about the food they buy, for example. And the food purchase decisions we make have huge ramifications for the health of this planet because of the way industrial agriculture is done. So it's meant to really, at its simplest level, just teach people landscaping for dummies who care about Earth. But at its highest potential, it could shift paradigms, hopefully.
I feel like the book challenges a lot of the established thought of how we like have a yard or what a park is supposed to look like or how we're supposed to manage land, especially in urban and suburban spaces.
Yeah.
Like, do you imagine a lot of pushback to some of the ideas and processes you've proposed in the book?
For sure. I mean, there's always status quo. That's going to be the biggest challenge. It's just, it's different. So I'm hopeful there, though. Like, think about the fashion industry. They remake beauty every 5 to 10 years. They do it pretty effortlessly. So if they can do it, I feel pretty good about our prospects of being able to do it. I worry more about, we see this in regenerative agriculture right now. The change is prompting a lot of the really big corporations to launch disinformation campaigns and to just basically squelch out the regenerative movement because it is a threat to the status quo. So that could happen. That's very presumptive of me. That assumes this book ever gets that level. But I will say there's one sort of thing package in here that'll help answer what you're asking. This book, one of the things that I think makes me uniquely qualified to write this book was the fact that I've had to work in this space for so long. I understand the constraints of things. We are a tree care company. We run crews. I know what it's like as a business standpoint to run operations. I know it very well. I also know the client side because I pay a lot of attention to the people we work for. So I understand the constraints of a homeowner. I understand what it's like to be an HOA board or to be a property manager. There's all these real world constraints that you're dealing with, whether it's limited budget or it's laws in what are called UDOs, the Unified Development Ordinances. So this book is built on having to, for the past 15 years at Leaf and Limb, we've had to figure out how to navigate those keyholes. How do you try to offer something that matters? Like, we've been focused on soil for many years. How do you get this idea of soil and the importance of focusing on soil to a client who's financially constrained and doesn't necessarily understand these topics and has to deal with a boss or you name the constraint? And that book, that has resulted in a series of very practical things that are either easier or cheaper than the way we do things now, because I fundamentally understand that for any possible new paradigm to work, it has to be cheaper or easier than the status quo.
Can you give us an example?
For sure. Probably the easiest example would be fertilizers. I mean, there's so many examples I could give. The whole book that's the entire book, but just one I like. We spend a lot of money paying people to inject fertilizers in our lawns. We're doing it ourselves. We're buying product. There's a huge amount of negative outcomes from producing fertilizers, transporting fertilizers, and then when you inject fertilizers, they do absolutely nothing, if not cause harm in the way that they damage the association of roots and mycorrhizal fungi, for example, or how they sweep out into the Gulf of Mexico and create a dead zone the size of Maryland, right? And we're paying this money and we're doing this work so that we can damage so many of our natural systems to produce a product that causes more damage and doesn't do the thing we want it to do. It's like, what? Turns out the answer is all of that turned on its head. You can just pile up your leaves in a corner, let them rot for a year or two. Then you can take that material, put it in a nice big mesh bag, soak it in some clean water, and now you have a liquid compost tea that you can put around your plants, trees, shrubs, spray it on you name it. You've had no negative footprint in terms of production, transportation. There's no negative outcomes in terms of harming life in the soil. It's the exact opposite. That is how you build life in the soil, literally. You don't have any toxic runoff issues. So every single one of these negatives associated with fertilizers gets turned on its head. It's a positive now. And we're actively helping build soil, which is a crucial part of photosynthesis, which is a crucial part of how we accumulate fresh water, supporting life, and pulling carbon from the atmosphere. And that's the whole idea in this book. We time and time again, we go through that lens and look at simple things like, for example, tree planting. We spend all this time and energy to grow trees. And when these trees are grown, and the way they're grown is, again, very damaging, then when we buy this tree, it's got a mangled root system. And we put it in the ground and we don't plant it properly. So we have this, again, this thing that literally grows on trees everywhere around us that we spend all this money for and spend all this energy on and spend all this harmful fertilizers and irrigation. And then it goes in the ground and it's handicapped from day one. And it's not going to live more than 35 years because that's the average lifespan of an urban tree in the United States. Yet in nature, these trees grow for hundreds of years, if not more. So what is the answer? Well, it turns out saplings. And you know what? You can grow saplings so easily. So you just turn the whole thing on its head. And then you take a very difficult and technical process, which is tree planting, and you turn it into a non-technical thing you can do in 3 minutes. So those are some examples of where I give readers very practical things that will save them time and money, and the win is they're actually helping heal the planet.
Do you have a favorite part of the book?
Yeah, I do. I insert 2 personal narratives that I really like. The original version of this book, which was, 150,000 words, was full of personal narrative. But it was just muddy and it was too much. So I just chopped it heavy duty with the help of an editor also. And the result was 50,000 words instead of 150. And so I had to chop out pretty much all of my personal narrative, but I did leave 2 stories that I really love. So yeah, that's probably my favorite. I also really like the essays about systems. I think, there's another thing that I love. I do sidebars. So like every couple of pages, there will be a inset on the side of the page that talks about something interesting, tangentially related to the topic at hand. And I always like that when authors do that. And I also like it when authors can take a tried and true subject and really turn it on its head. David Haskell does this so well in A Forest Unseen. He has these 2 books, and one of them he just sits in this like 10 by 10 square of land in the Appalachian Mountains, and he revisits it once a month and sits there for a full day and just writes about all the life he sees in these squares. And it's just fascinating. So I'm not saying I've written at that level, but I have turned these tried and true boring topics into fun essays that hit unusual viewpoints and facts that most people probably not be familiar with. And they get sidebars while they go.
So as you mentioned before, there's going to be a lot of photos and a lot of videos associated with the book. So it's not just a textbook, but it's a multimedia experience.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We use QR codes. I mean, I wanted, so one of the challenges, you can write about how to do something, which I do. I teach you how to do X, Y, and Z, how to make compost tea, how to plant a prairie from seed, how to plant pocket forests. I basically teach everything that I know. But writing it down can be hard to interpret. A, it's very hard to be exact in instructions. B, it's hard to understand in written instruction. That's why videos are a game changer. So we've integrated QR codes. So the back half of the book, actually, no, sorry, more than half. The majority of the book is how-to guide. So we get the essays in the beginning. They're quick, they're fast. I think they're done at page, I don't know, I want to say 60 or 70. And then the book goes on to page 224 of how-to stuff. But we've inserted these QR codes, and you can just hold your phone camera on it, and a video will pop, a little thing will pop up, you touch it, and it'll go to a how-to video. So for all of the how-to stuff, at least the challenging how-to, there are accompanying videos that we've put together. Obviously with your help, they're amazing. There's a variety. Some are our polished videos for the newsletter. Some are more of the quick and dirty field self-help, which is effective. We've heard good feedback so far. But the idea is you can read it, you can see it with key photos, you can watch videos. And for those who find the cell phone QR code challenging, I've also got just a page online where everything's linked. So people can go there and follow along if they want. There's just trying to make it super easy is the idea. So yeah, when you're doing a how-to, you can read it, probably learn it that way. But if you got some questions, you pop over to the video and you hopefully answer those questions.
So how do I get a copy of the book?
It's going to be on pre-order on our website at leaflim.com. You go there and you should see a banner across the image, or you can go to the About Us menu and it'll be an option. It'll say get our book, or just go straight to www.leaflim.com/wonder, like from Wasteland to Wonder. And pre-orders will last until May 31st. And then we're going to get our first big order in. After that, we'll just have to evaluate where we are. It may just be rolling orders are available on the website, or it might be that we batch them. Just depends, because we're doing this ourselves. We did not go through a publisher. So everything's on our own dime. There's no payments for the writing. We had to hire our own editors, obviously did our own videos and photos in-house, hire design. Everything's just had to pay out of pocket. So buying a lot of books is very costly. We cannot necessarily afford just to buy a ton and sell them all the time. We'll just have to see how this goes. If it goes well, and I'm hoping it does, then we'll get enough books to where we can just have momentum and keep selling it on the site. If it doesn't go well and it's sort of just smaller interest, then we'll probably do an order, and then we'll accumulate another order and do another one later this year. Anyway, yeah, /leaflim.com/wonder. Pre-orders last till May 31st.
Will there be an electronic version of the book?
Yes, doing two versions, doing the electronic version and doing the hard copy. So I think the electronic version is important because a lot of us do read a lot online. Also, we didn't really get into this, but it's worth noting, I'm giving the book away for free. I don't want there to be barriers to people being able to access this work. And it's my act of reciprocity. It's a concept from Robin Wall Kimmerer that I love. When I read Braiding Sweetgrass and I read about this concept of reciprocity, I just loved it so much. And I decided then that I was going to do this book would be my act of reciprocity. And it's just my tiny way of saying thank you. Privilege of being alive. It's just an incredible opportunity. And I don't want to bottle up knowledge or things that matter. I want to give them away. They just shouldn't be, I think increasingly, I think it's important to share ideas. They should be shared freely. And I think it's scary because other people might take your ideas and you might never get credit. You might never get money. It's something I'm grappling with right now, unfortunately, but it's important and I'm grateful. So I'm giving it away. The ebook is fully free. The hard copy version, we're just going to charge the amount necessary to cover the printing costs. It's like about $10, I want to say, maybe a little less. They have to print it and ship it. Then there's a shipping fee based on where you live. I think it's like $3 to $5. These just cover costs. We just cannot afford, unfortunately. Now, I wish we were a mega corporation with investors. We just stockpile these books, but we're a small local company, so we don't have a ton of ability to spend that kind of money. So anyway, price of the book, the printing. I recommend the hard copy because I envision this book being used out in the garden or in your yard or on a property. I see this as a book you take with you and you get it dirty and you use it. So to that end, I think the hard copy is going to be quite valuable. I'm also going to invest in some higher end binding. We're doing a sewn binding because it allows the pages to open more easily. They're more resilient. Again, in the theme of being able to actually use it outside. So get either version. Nothing will be available until after the pre-order. But then after the pre-order, the digital will always be available. That's a guaranteed. And then assuming, either the hard copy is rolling orders or we batch orders, you can at least look at the PDF version to see if you like it, and then make a decision on whether you want to get the physical copy or not.
Well, congratulations on your book.
Thanks.
What are the next steps for you or for Leaf and Limb?
Well, I have to decompress personally. It's been a lot. So I'm going to take hopefully maybe 3 or 4 days and go backpacking with the boys. We'll see. We're hoping to go up the Appalachian Mountains, although weather's going to be interesting. And then after that, it's, I gotta focus on business stuff. Like this has been pulling me away recently from business. So I gotta get back to Leaf and Limb and Project Panda, just stay focused on some of the core business things that I must. In terms of the book, I think we'll probably host some lectures at Leaf and Limb, some presentations, a little tour. I'm hoping this book can also help raise some money for Project Panda. So one of the things I invite readers to do is, yes, the book is free, but if you really enjoyed it and maybe you want to give an act of reciprocity of your own or just show some love, all money donated to the book goes to help. This funds Project Panda. So there's these QR codes in there and there's links and you can text to donate. I'm hoping that this book can generate some fundraising for Project Panda.
What is Project Panda?
Good question. Project Panda is our nonprofit side. So it is a registered nonprofit, but really, Leaf and Limb, Project Panda, we're a zany organization. I view us as, it's just complicated. We're a purpose-driven, for-profit company on the Leaf and Limb side. On the Project Panda side, we're a nonprofit funded by Leaf and Limb. Traditionally, Leaf and Limb's paid everything, but we'd like to make Panda just more self-sufficient. And we'd love to be able to do our own internal fundraising via this book and via other methods because we just don't want to be beholden. A lot of grants come with strings attached, and it makes it hard to really work on the things you want to work on. It ends up that you have to kind of do the grant and then kind of get to do some of your stuff. And we would love a scenario where we can just be free to pursue the things that we care about. And Project Panda, the whole idea is we're working to connect people more closely with trees. And we do that in a variety of ways. Our major project right now is we collect native seeds with help from volunteers from the community and Leaf and Limb staff. We raise those seeds up, tens of thousands of trees that we raise. They're all local seeds, local native species. We give those away for free. We prioritize nonprofits and ecological restoration projects. And we're just, again, this is a fun way to connect people with trees. We're finding that volunteers enjoy it. They're learning about trees, doing fun activities. There's this growing sense of community around the work. Leaf and Limb, it's become a staple of who we are. It's just this just amazing community developing around it that's just so wholesome and fantastic. And we're pivoting in new directions. We're now kind of looking at food a little bit. We want to think about how does food fit into this? Because food is a very easy bridge to draw people closer to trees. So we're exploring, can we integrate food into our pocket forests or into plantings that we're doing for clients? Can we find a way to work with farmers to give them these seedlings that are grown from native seeds where they could maybe begin growing food from trees and make good money that way, and then maybe not have to plow so many fields. Maybe they could let those fields become meadows with native flowers and grasses. So there's all these sort of possible built-in wins with food. That's just one of the directions we're headed. But ultimately, Project Pando is a nonprofit aimed at connecting people with trees. And we'd love for this book to help fund that. We'll see.
Anything else you want to talk about?
What was your favorite part about doing photos and videos? Because you spent a lot of time working on that.
Yes. I think this was one of the times in my career at Leaf and Limb that I have produced the most videos in the shortest amount of time. We tried a different camera setup. We tried a different shooting style than we normally do. That was interesting. I learned some more about that. I want to implement some of those lessons into future projects.
We've gotten favorable feedback so far.
That's great. Yeah, I saw the post yesterday on Slack about that.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as we put the videos out there, somebody's like, "Oh, yes."
Yeah.
That's super nice. That makes me feel good that like people are instantly using this stuff and like are instantly finding it useful and helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet you're like me. It's bittersweet to be done. It'll be fun to have your work showcased and you're like, thank God.
Yes. I'm excited about the book. I'm excited to see where it goes and what the popular response will be. Like, I think we have a dedicated group that reads our newsletter that is going to jump on the book. That's going to love it. What I'm more interested in is a year from now, who's talking about the book that I wouldn't figure would be?
Yeah.
Like, where is it going to go? And it might take longer than a year. It might take a few years because this book challenges a lot of paradigms. And so some people are just going to like look at it and just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Like, that's dumb. I need my lawn. Where other people are going to be like, oh my God, this thing tells me how I can start helping now. Yeah. This tells me how I can change things and make things better right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to jump on it and start like being all about it. So I'm really interested to see if there's a community around the book or if the book starts spreading into other environmental activist groups or what.
Yeah. It's a good point you make, because yes, we can talk to the people who already believe the things we believe, and that'll be great. And because there's new stuff in here for sure, it'll help those people, and I'm very excited about that. There's a lot of good organizations around here doing great work that I know will be able to use these models. But I also would love to reach the people who aren't necessarily in the same boat as us. And that is a curiosity of mine as well. I do think this is probably the first time, like for people who know regenerative agriculture, and I'm a big student of regenerative agriculture, among other bodies, I would say this is the first time that many of those principles, if not all of those core principles, have been really brought to the suburban space and done so in a comprehensive framework. So that'll be interesting just to see if a movement happens around that. It could, but I also got to say, that's super pie in the sky. I think something like 4 million books are written every single year in the US. So a lot of this is also just a game of luck. Do I get a mention from somebody who, there's a lot of luck involved as well.
I think that the book provides a collection of knowledge that I'm not seeing other places. Like, obviously I watch a lot of YouTube and I see a lot of like regenerative agriculture and like market gardening and like how to make your yard like use less fertilizer or like simple stuff like that. But there isn't something that's like, hey, let's redesign your entire yard to make it not suck, make it self-sufficient, and make it part of the local ecology. Yeah. And it's something you can do right now, and it's not going to be this huge amount of effort. Like this is feasible for you, random homeowner. Yeah. And like, I think that is immensely powerful, and I think that there's an audience out there that would love to use this book as a resource, and want, especially younger people, want to make their yards be part of the ecosystem, be part of the environment, and participate in like having local trees and birds and stuff, and they just don't know how.
Right.
And all they've grown up with is the traditional lawn. Right. And so like for people like that, and they're few with the way the housing economy is, but the people that are in that position would love this.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what else? You mentioned overhauling the yard. And I actually, there's 5 sections. Section 1 is the basic essay. Section 2 is the problem essays. And then 3 is the easiest and fastest ways you can make big change. I try to prioritize it. So section 4 is the whole overhaul. That's where we use meadows and pocket forests to just fill in big spaces on properties. But in section 3, because I recognize some people might not want to go to that length, and even that length is not difficult. Like, you'll probably spend less time on that than you would on just your standard mowing of the yard that summer. But regardless, maybe you just want to kind of dip your toe in the water. Section 1 is all about dipping your toe in the water. It's just fast and easy things you can do. They don't overhaul your life. Just simple little changes, you know?
What's an example of one of those?
Okay, well, one is planting saplings, which we already talked about, because with saplings, it's so easy. Another is I just wrote about all the reasons people cut down mature trees that are unnecessary. So simply not cutting a tree down is another super way to do it. Because by preserving that tree, you preserve all the many benefits that come with it. And what I do in this chapter is I address all the biggest fears that I've heard for the last 15 years, all the reasons not to remove a tree. I talk about reasons, maybe you should be concerned. And I also give people a basic layout for how to evaluate a tree. And that just clears up a lot of the lies that are out there. Unfortunately, in my industry, the tree service industry, everybody calls himself a tree care company, but the truth is that most companies in my industry make the majority of their revenue from cutting them down. I'm not wagging the finger because I've been there and done that. We were that company for many years. So I'm really saying it more from a place of knowing what it's like. And even when I tried to steer my sales team away from removals, it was very challenging because they're big projects, easy money. You know, who wants to walk away from a $3,000 removal you can sell right here on the spot versus, okay, I'm going to try to convince this person to save the tree. And the way that I'm going to convince them to do it is to heal the soil. And they're going to laugh at me. And I'm probably not going to get the sale. But if I do get the sale, it's a third of the removal price. So not great incentives there. And so it was only when I took removals off the table as an option that I freed my sales team to be able to give the right advice. So many tree services are stuck in that paradigm, and there's many reasons they get stuck there, and I feel their pain. I know how hard it was to get out. It's almost impossible to get out, quite frankly. But if you're an average homeowner or an average property owner, you should know that 9 times out of 10, you're being fed advice that's not in your best interest or the tree's best interest. Most of the time, trees that tree services say need to be cut down don't. So this chapter attempts to just cut through the BS. It doesn't get any easier than that. You've just saved yourself $3,000 and not really had to do much except for read a chapter. So that's the kind of easy stuff that I pack into this section.
So if I wanted to plant saplings, where would I go to get them?
It's a great question. There are some native nurseries around here, but I will say in general, it's hard to find native nurseries. It's an emerging industry because there hasn't been a lot of demand for their plants, unfortunately. And, there's another rabbit hole we get into a little bit in the book, which is nurseries rely on patents and trademarks to make their money because you grow a plant that's patented and you can charge a premium. But if you just grow an oak, well, acorns are everywhere. They're not patented. So there's not a good margin there. So if you're a native nursery, you're dealing with lower than usual margins, lower than usual interest. So there haven't been many of them to date. I'd say the best one in this area is Mellow Marsh in Siler City. Fantastic stuff. There's some new and emerging native nurseries. Let's see, Rachel's Natives in Pittsburgh. There's, oh my gosh, of course I can't remember all the folks, but I will just say this. In the book, I have an appendix. There's a bunch of native nurseries listed, so you can always check that out. And so a handful of options, but here's the kicker. Section 5 of the book, it's the one we haven't talked about yet. It is the full blueprint that we've developed over the last 4 years for Project Panda. So we spent a lot of years, a lot of people have helped from the community, from Leaf and Limb, And we've just been exploring what is the most cost-effective way to grow native trees and shrubs. How do you coalesce the community to find seeds and bring them in? How do you process the seeds? What kind of what do you build to grow? So we've just been testing all these experiments, like what's the best substrate to put into the air pruning boxes, which is what we use. We found to be the most effective method. So section 5, we give the whole blueprint for Project Pando, and it's remarkably easy. So really, you could just grow your own saplings if you wanted to. That is chapter 5, because it's more effort. But the average homeowner can absolutely build an air pruning box. We give instructions on how to do it. Throw in a bunch of old leaves, and go out and collect some seeds and put them in there and start growing their own saplings. It's that easy. Then you take them out, and you have these beautiful saplings with beautiful root development. You put them in the ground. There's so many rabbit holes we could go to on just that process, but it's all in the book. So long story short, you can buy saplings, which is great to support our local native nurseries. The more demand there is, the more we'll see. And if you are somebody who wants to exert a little more effort, well then build an air pruning box, grow your own. Yeah. So anyway, I guess my final thing I'd say, if you're interested, pre-order. And if you're interested, spread the word. I think one of the things that could help spread the word is just getting some initial momentum. So I'd love to see 10,000 copies go out May 31st. There's a lot of good research to say that if you can get to 10,000, then there's a momentum that takes over that helps spread the word. We'll see. Maybe what I wrote is just garbanzo beans, and people are like, no, this is dumb. Fine. The audience will know. I think we'll know. If it is good, though, and we can get to 10,000, then hopefully we can help do some good for the well-being of planet Earth.